The Lumiere brothers, Augustus and Louis Lumiere, born in Besançon in France on the 19th of October 1862 and October 5th, 1864. They grew up to be very successful filmmakers and inventors, and from this they won the Elliott Crescent Medal in 1909. They invented the first ever moving picture, which at the time was a great leap forward to any director or film enthusiastic. Cutting during films, even to this day, is always used to give an effect of moving from one part of a scene to another without using too much footage or time. The Great Train Robbery used a lot of cutting, which the switching of the trains to the actors' expressions. The first filmmakers used anything to film, whether it was people leaving a factory or a car going past.
In 1915, D.W. Griffiths was the first person to use a range of shots in his making of a movie. He used shots such as close-ups in his movie called Birth of a Nation, which was a blockbuster but was also highly racist in content. What D.W. Griffiths did changed filmmaking in a major way, as the techniques he used are used in a major way today. His film cutter was Jimmy Edward Smith. The use of sound allowed the film to capture the audience's attention more than a silent picture and allowed it to be more interesting. Birth of a Nation was clearly racist, with its demeaning representation of African Americans and a storyline that positioned the creation of the Ku Klux Klan as the means of vengeance over the death of a woman. The film earned much criticism from a variety of avenues, including the NAACP.
George was at the Lumiere's factory's first film screening and tried to buy the cinematograph for 10,000 francs, but the Lumiere brothers refused because they saw him as potential competition. He then brought an automatograph for 1,000 francs. He then reversed the mechanics and made his own camera. After a few months, he was making his own films as a part of a stage show. In the fall of 1896, he was in Paris filming a bus, but unfortunately his camera messed up and wouldn't work. By the time he got it fixed, the bus was gone and replaced by a hearse. That's when he discovered the jump cut, because when he looked back at the take, it started off with a bus and then jumped to a hearse in the same take. He then started using jump cuts in his later films, such as The Haunted Castle in 1896. He then started using the techniques such as fade in and fade out, the overlap and dissolves, and stop-motion photography. He stayed in the theatre frame of mind so that he never moved the camera once when he filmed any of his films, because he wanted to make it seem like it was from an audience point of view, like it would be if they went to a theatre. For example, you never move seats when you're at a theatre, and you have a view from the stage if you were sitting the whole time from the theatre.
In 1903, the first lines of editing were introduced. Edwin Porter used a slice machine to show simple cutting techniques in his films, for example the film The Great Train Robbery. Compared to films now, this simple cut technique looks really bad. Not only is the whole film edited by one cut, the cut isn't perfect and is misplaced sometimes, which makes the film not flow very well. Porter entered motion picture work in 1896. The first year movies were commercially projected on large screens in the United States. He was briefly employed in New York City by Ruff and Gammon, agents for the films and viewing equipment made by Thomas Edison, and then left to become a touring projectionist with a competing machine, Kahn & Webster's projectoscope. This impacts how people edit today because the simple cut technique is advanced and makes the film look more smooth. There are a lot more different types of cuts compared to back then, which suits the style of genre of the film they are making.